Oh, Heather, it's snowing in your world. You just love winter so much. Is that what it is? You're muted, Heather.
Oh, I don't know about loving winter. I don't mind it.
You're embracing it.
I just switched to a different computer, so there we go.
So how long ago did you, I think I might have hit the wrong link. I've been trying to get in. Did you just start the meeting, Heather, or did I hit the wrong link?
No, I just started it.
Okay, I
I
went
had
back, went to a different link.
I had another meeting that was running. It was supposed to run up till noon, so, but it was gonna go much longer than that anyway.
Yeah, I just got your email like 2 minutes ago. Hey, Gloria, since you are with us,
Yeah.
I am wondering if under Rotary related announcements, if you have any like updates from the district level that you might.
Yeah, actually, I would like to speak a little bit about the Women in Rotary project, and then also we have a grant available for technology uses. So.
Wonderful. Can I call on you?
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to step away for a second just to get something to drink. I will be right back.
Oh, we're not that bad of a group that she needs a drink to get us going.
Yes, we are.
Hey, Heather, are you the one that does orchids?
No, I have plumarias.
Oh, what are those?
Flowers like that they make the leis out of in Hawaii.
Oh, got it. Okay. I had run across an article about orchids, and I was thinking that what you did was orchids, and I thought, maybe Heather wants to look at it.
No, I've got my hands full with the plumarias.
And Paula, I did hear the comment as I was walking away. I went with the non-alcoholic version, so.
Say, seems there's quite a few people here. How many of you guys have not let me know if you've updated your directory information? So we need to have you guys let me know, and you can let me know now, or even on the chat portion if you've updated your directory. If you need me to resend it to you, I'll be glad to do it.
Mine's all updated, Paula.
Thanks, Heather. How about you, Jennifer?
I was just chatting, outing myself to everybody in writing. I will do it this afternoon, Paula.
Mine's all done.
Was that Ann?
Yep.
So we have a lighter group so far. I think I'm going to stall for a little bit longer. We have 21 people. So I'm just going to feel free to chat amongst yourselves.
John Forrest, are you, is your information correct?
Yes, I believe it is.
Thanks, John. How about you, Rod Rangan?
I will work on mine this afternoon.
Thanks. I'm liking the way. Oh, hey, Mike Bjorkness, if you're on, I have a feeling your information is not correct in the directory. Do you want to check that and get back to me, please? It's Paula.
It's cleaned up and was updated as of yesterday.
Perfect. You know, I like doing this. This is working real well. How about you, Mark Alverson? Jim Roloffs, is your information correct?
Yes, Paula, my information is correct, except the photo could be improved or updated, and I'll do that sometime in the next week.
Perfect. Thank you. How about Julie? I bet you're probably new enough. Your information is probably correct.
Mine is correct. Thank you.
And Jim, that's a great picture you have on your Zoom account.
Which one is that, Jennifer? Oh, the one on my Zoom. Oh, yeah,
Yep,
that was
just-
more in a remote village clinic.
It just looks like such a Jim Roloff picture. That's a compliment.
All right, thank you.
Brett, is your information correct on the website?
It is, but if you can make my photo look more like Jensen Echoes, my wife would appreciate that. So.
You have no idea the comments I get on pictures, trust me.
Well, we've had a number of new people and we haven't been able to take their pictures. So we should, yeah, folks are going to need to upload pictures. I don't know that it'll be a while before we are back and can do those pictures. I notice there's our Dennis Wyman, our speaker today. Although it says Tom W. in his picture, I think the computer you're using, Dennis, was signed in by somebody else. So just so you know, that's Dennis. And so he's our speaker today.
Thanks, Dan. It threw me off a little bit. I'm trying to figure it. I'm thinking that's Dennis, but it says Tom.
Yeah, sorry about that. I thought we had that fixed yesterday before I took this computer, but apparently we still have Tom on here. But it is Dennis.
Dennis, don't get nervous in front of a camera now.
You know, it's different on these than it is on TV.
Hey, Dennis, thanks for the nice story that you guys did on Winkleman Solar last week. I've got a lot of calls and people in touch.
Oh, good. I'm glad that worked out good. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Worth a fine.
Yeah, I'll pay for that.
And in regards to our discussions over the years, the Walker paper features a local business now every week in the Walker paper. Is really pretty cool. Some of those go back, 2-3 generations, and some of them are a year or two old, but it's pretty cool to see the backgrounds of those people.
Well, there's 100 interesting stories out there. And I've been selling business to business for years, and I keep finding some little building back at the end of a dirt road. And it's like, wow, that's incredible. That's a story that needs to be told. So that's what we're doing now. I'm enjoying them.
Ray, I read those articles, the two in the Walker paper. That's been fun to read those. My thought with that was eventually, how many businesses are they going to have? You do that for 2 years, you're going to probably run through them all. We do that on Monday nights, and we've got such a larger viewing area than their immediate Walker area. It's been much easier for us to do. But yeah, they've been great so far. I've enjoyed reading them.
They started spreading out. I know the last week was in Hackensack, and they're doing some in LaPorte now. So they are spreading out too.
Well, I hate to interrupt great conversation, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started. And it looks like we have a great teaser for our presenter in a little bit, some pre-discussion. If you would please join me in reciting the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do.
Here, do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. And it is a new month. And so we have Brett Anderson, who's going to be doing our invocation. Brett.
Great. Thanks, guys. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for your love for us. Thank you for your love for this group. Thank you for all the hours of volunteer work that happen both here and abroad with Rotary. Thank you for the opportunity to demonstrate your love towards others. And we just thank you so much for the leadership with this group and the great presentations that we get to enjoy. Pray that you continue to keep our Rotary family safe and bless this time together. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brett. So I think one of the things that that I always appreciate about going to church is routine. And so I think it's also one of those things that I really appreciate about Rotary is just our regular routine. So with that next, I'm going to do introduction of guests. Rick Bricker, I know he is not able to attend today, our past district governor. Don Peterson, our assistant district governor, is with us. Our district executive secretary, Gloria Mink, is with us. You'll be hearing from her a little bit later. And then district training committee, Jill Carlson, do not see, and district crisis committee, Don Ryan. I think Don is here also. Hi, Don. As always, thank you for your service at the district level. Are there any other guests? Am I missing any guests except for our speaker? We will hear from him a little later. Does anybody have any guests? A little trickier to have guests via Zoom. All right, seeing none, I'll move us on to Rotary related announcements. I'm going to start with a couple and then just throw it out to the group. Just a reminder, March 16th, we are slated to volunteer at the outreach of Brainerd. So again, just a reminder, one of the things that I had hoped to do in my year as president is to do some additional service projects, one every quarter. So this quarter will be March 16th at noon, which is our regular scheduled time to meet. So instead of meeting, we'll do a service project.
Jennifer, is there going to be a sign up for that?
There is. Todd, I hope to have it out in the next couple of weeks. I'm waiting to hear from Outreach of Brainerd on the specifics. So.
Thank you.
Yep. Just want to remember to have everybody put it on their calendar. So eventually, yes, we'll have a sign up sheet. And I've heard it from a couple of you. So I've marked your names down that you will be participating. Next, I just want to talk a little bit about the Easter egg hunt. There has been some emails going around just to see if Rotarians have interest. The city of Brainerd, of course, we're looking at CDC guidelines and Minnesota Department of Health guidelines. And so our Parks Department did reach out to Rotary to see if the city does decide to move forward with our Easter egg hunt, if there is willingness to have Rotarians participate. So again, just those discussions are just starting, trying to look at how, if the city does it, we could do that safely in this pandemic. So stay tuned for more information. And maybe before I turn it over to Gloria, does anybody else have any Rotary related announcements? Kind of scrolling through the screen. Any Rotary related announcements?
Yeah, I saw a couple people check in since I was earlier. Let me know if you've updated your directory page or if there need any update, if you need help with that. Otherwise, yeah, take care of that stuff, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for staying on top of that, Paula, and staying on top of us. Other Rotary related announcements. All right, seeing none. Gloria, you had a couple of announcements from the district level.
Yes, first I will say that there is a Women in Rotary project getting started, and it is initiated by District Governor nominee Kay Biga. So she will be the district governor not this coming July, but next July in 2022. And her initiative is just to increase the percentage of women members. And I looked up our club, for example, and we are at about a percentage of 27%, and that's pretty typical within the district. Some clubs are quite a bit more, some clubs are quite a bit less. So it's basically just an initiative to increase the percentage of women members. And if you're interested, we have a task force started, and you can be male or female. It takes everybody to make changes. So just send a message in the chat if you're interested in being on the task force, and I'll include you in those communications. We also have a website page, Women in Rotary District 5580. I'll send the link in the chat as well. If you're interested, you can like that page. Second, well, does anybody have any questions about the Women in Rotary project? Nope. All right. So second, we also have a district grant coming out to clubs. It's going to be $400 for the use of technology. So it's something that I just wanted to let you guys know that the district is working to try to make sure that you will have the technology needed when we go back to hybrid type meetings. If you need a new camera or anything like that, it can be used for that, or the Zoom subscription as well. So more will be being sent to Jennifer on that. That's all.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I think, Gloria, one of the things that I know we met a couple of times in person at Dennis Drum Wine Company, and the issue that we had was people being able to hear when they are joining via Zoom, and us being able to hear those who are joining via Zoom. So maybe something we want to take a look at. When is the deadline for that grant, you know?
It's just now coming out, so I don't have all the information, but I'm hoping by the end of the week I'll have an email and it'll get sent to you and club secretaries also. So you'll have the information shortly.
Great, and as long as we're talking about technology, if those of you who do not realize, but you know, Heather obviously creates all of our Zoom meetings, and Heather has an account, a Zoom account, and so she has graciously been using her Zoom account for this. So thanks, Heather, for doing that. She may be in another meeting. So anything else, Gloria, from the district level?
That's all I have for now.
Great. Are there any other Rotary related announcements? All right, seeing none, we will move right into our Sergeant at Arms, and I see Andy is here. Andy, take it away.
Great. All right. I mentioned this last week, but Super Bowl's coming up this weekend. I should have taken a picture of my kids' Chiefs wall. My wife being from Missouri, this is all we can talk about at our house. Other than the big one for us too was all 4 kids as of yesterday are back in person in school. So it's a big deal. So anyone who is benefiting from the kids being back in school can set $1 aside for when we can pay those, but it's a big deal, and our district just has done an absolutely amazing job with regard to communicating and laying out the plan and executing on the plan. It really is hard to reiterate how well that's gone and how well the district has done with that. So much appreciated for that. And then I'll just kind of open it up for other happy dollars. I don't have a picture today, so anyone else maybe can jump in and do that.
This is Dan. I've got 2 happy dollars. I made a video for the Cuyuna bike trails about how to get proper tire pressure on your fat tire bike to not ruin the trails. And some people promoted that, and it's got over 17,000 views in a few days. And somebody even requested that it could be translated into French. So that's kind of a milestone. My wife and I are shopping for maybe a camper or something to do a little traveling. And we're looking at a minivan. And Joe Carlson sent me, a minivan, that's kind of like giving up. But Here's what she said I need. So I think that's a big no, but you know, whatever. It's a thought. So stop sharing. There we go. So there's a couple bucks for you.
Great.
Brett here. I have a happy dollar to share. If any of you are friends with Dan Hagstead on Facebook, then you will appreciate his demented sense of comical humor. But I typically get a good laugh just about every day. Thank you, Dan.
I know it's going to be a good post when my wife says, "You're not going to post that, are you?" So that's a big yes for me.
Yeah, I also I enjoy them as well. It brings a little light. I have a couple of happy dollars. I have a personal one and a professional one. My personal one is that my daughter, my oldest daughter, came and spent the weekend with me last weekend, and we got to go out. It was the first time I think I've really gone out in a while. We went to Prairie Bay and had supper, and then we reserved one of the fish houses at Jack Pine Brewery. And so sat there and had a beer and played some cribbage. It was a lot of fun. Then went cross country skiing on Saturday. Again, just taking advantage of being outside in the winter. My professional happy dollar is the city council did meet last night and did my performance evaluation. And so I am happy to report that they have agreed to keep me on. So that is my professional happy dollar, and the evaluation went well. So very humbled and very pleased.
Awesome.
I have a happy dollar or two. First of all, my wife and I have pulled the trigger on our new model solar home. It's going to be a storm-proof home with insulated concrete walls and heat on slab on grade. And then the whole roof is going to be solar at the south side. And we'll be getting about $1,000 a year back from Crow Wing Power, in addition to supplying our home's electric bills. So that'll be starting this spring, and I'm hoping that we'll have something available for the public by September.
Very cool.
Hey, I'm gonna try to technologically share a photo here if I can. And hopefully this will work. And it's not. So I had a photo of a camper that I'll send it to Dan. It's something that I think he'd be interested in.
Very good.
Andy, this is Jim. I'd just like to say I'm delighted that Jennifer got this little boost in her job. I think it's great for us as Rotarians, but it's also great for the community of Brainerd, and I'm happy for that, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jim. You just made me tear up. I appreciate that.
So I also just wanted to note, I'm going to put a link in. There is if anybody wants to join a test Zoom, Zoom has a meeting you can join at any time to run a test Zoom if you wanted to test out your mic or your video or sharing or any of that kind of stuff. I'll put it in the link chat over here. If anybody wanted to, wants to do that ahead of time to iron out any of the kinks that might be there. So I put that in the chat, and if anybody needs it, they can always email it out or something too. Don't try to join it while you're on here because you can't join two Zooms at once. I learned that the hard way. Anybody else have anything? All right, very good. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Andy. And here's hoping we see John's recommendation for Dan's new camper. I'm really curious what that looks like, John. And I can only imagine.
Yeah, I'm checking my email. Maybe it'll get here before the end of the meeting.
Great. Well, that moves us on to our presentation. So today, as you all know, Dan Hegstead lines up our speakers, and I think he does a wonderful job of giving us a nice variety of speakers. And today is Dennis, and I'm sorry, I hope it's Wyman. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep.
Dennis Wyman from Lakeland Public Television is going to be our speaker today. And so with that, Dennis, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Okay, and how long would you like me to go right to 1 o'clock?
So we probably have, I'd say about 20 minutes, and that leaves some time for questions at the end.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you very much for having me today and having me speak. I'm just going to talk about what we do with Lakeland PBS and Lakeland News. Lakeland News is where I'm the news director, and that's what I work primarily with. But Lakeland PBS is the only television station providing local service in north central Minnesota. We produce really a wide array of local content for about 400,000 individuals over an estimated 7,500 square miles in northern and central Minnesota. And they could view the station either off air with an antenna, via cable, or via satellite. And then another 800,000 people south of our primary area in the Minneapolis-St. Paul market can watch us on DirecTV or Dish Network. So we have quite a reach, and we are the only station located in this part of the state, and also the only one providing local services such as Lakeland News. Now, Lakeland News has been around since 1998. The station's been around as a whole since the late 70s, and the Brainerd station came in shortly after that. And it's the same signal in Bemidji, Brainerd. We have two different towers that allow us to cover a large geographical area. So, but it's the same exact signal, same exact programs that go out for Bemidji and Brainerd. And we try to incorporate in both areas as being our home. And it's challenging because if you're in sports or anything like that, Brainerd and Bemidji are kind of rivals. So, living in Bemidji, I hear a lot of, well, how come you show so much Brainerd sporting events and Brainerd news? And it's funny. And then likewise, I'll hear the same from Brainerd. Dan will tell me, he'll hear comments that we show too much Bemidji news. And what we try to do is really balance it out. We have a staff, a small staff, and we have two reporters in Brainerd and two reporters in Bemidji. And they each cover kind of a circle around those hub cities. I would say about 2/3 of our news is within those cities or within 20 miles, but we really enjoy getting out into smaller communities, whether it's like Longville or Roseau, or I know our sports guy is going up to do a story on the ice road going out to the northwest angle from Lake of the Woods. We have a lot of viewership up in that area. East-west, we go from basically Aiken over to Wadena on the southern end and up to Foston and Grand Rapids on the northern end. So it's a big viewing area, and with the small staff, it's tough to get out and do stories in all those communities. It's really the one benefit to the pandemic has been the use of interviews like this now, where we're able to reach out into some of these communities with digital interviews, which in the past weren't used that often. And I think it's something that's going to stay around. It's going to allow us to get even after the pandemic, instead of having to travel all the way to Grand Rapids to get one interview, we can get that interview over the internet like this. So that's maybe the only positive to come out of the pandemic. Our focus is really local. We cover local news, local weather, local sports. I've been, like I said, with the station since 1998. Prior to that, I worked in Fargo, North Dakota at KBLY TV there for 5 years I was actually sports anchor there. And I started in Minot, North Dakota at a CBS station where I did news and sports there. And the opportunity, I went to Bemidji State University, graduated in 1990, and had a chance to come back and start up a newscast in, who wouldn't want to, especially after living in North Dakota for 8 years, who wouldn't want to come back to the lakes and trees of north central Minnesota here. And it was a dream come true to be able to come back and start up this newscast. And since 1998 now, I mean, we're going on 22 years, I think, or 23 years coming up with our newscast this summer. And it's really been a great success for us and for our station. The national PBS president was in town about 5 years ago, and she called our station the Bemidji miracle. What we're doing with such a small staff in such a small area is something that they hold up to all their PBS stations. We're one of, I think, 2 state PBS stations that does local news. And the reason we do local news is because nobody else in this part of the state really does. I mean, sure, you will have Minneapolis, St. Paul stations come up and do cool stories on whatever. They'll come up and do great stuff, but they're not here consistently day to day telling the stories that are going on in the communities. Fargo and Duluth, sure, they'll bop in when there's a bad murder or something like that, but the good down home stories that we're not being told, we have been able to do that since 1998 now. And it's really it's been a challenge at times, but it's gone very well. Our staff budget for the news has to be maybe the lowest in the country. It's pretty low, and we bring in all our positions except for my position. My position is I'm news director, news producer, assignment editor, and news anchor. Okay, at a station like Fargo, that'd be probably 4 different people that would do that. And I'm not putting the light on me, because we have people all over our station that do several jobs that would normally be hired out to several different people. It's a consistent throughout our staffing. But except for my position, we bring in, and Stacy Christensen has been our weathercaster from the beginning too, which is really rare to have someone for that long in that position as well. And her and her husband settled down in Bemidji and really like it here, and we've been fortunate to keep her around that long. The rest of our positions are sports anchor and also our reporters. I hire them strictly pretty much out of college. Everybody we bring in, for the most part, at most they have an internship. Very, very rarely do they have any actual experience in the business. And in the olden days, with the olden days being like 1998 to 2000, in that area, I would get tons of applicants for jobs, because getting into television is a challenge for someone coming out of college, and you need to start in a small market, improve yourself, and then you move up. Well, as the TV business has gotten tougher and tougher, even in the bigger markets now are starting to hire candidates that in the past I would have been looking at in a small market. But they're looking to save money with their hires in some cases. So kind of the top of the line entry level candidates are ones that I would have, a lot more of the top of the line candidates are moving on to bigger markets. So my challenge now is finding really good candidates out of a much smaller pool. And it's been a challenge on some hires. Other hires, I just hired 2 people, but for the Brainerd Lakes area that were my top candidates, and both are excellent candidates. One's from Syracuse University. The other one went to Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, and he's more interested in sports, but we hired him as a news person. He's doing great as a news reporter. And getting good quality candidates like that is real important. But what we do is we bring them in. It's a good place to learn, and they improve dramatically while they're with us typically, and move on after a year. And then we start over. I counted up the other day. I think I've hired over 100 people in the last since 1998, as far as reporters and anchors. And it's a good process. I don't have to go through a lot of hoops to do the hirings. I do the hirings by myself, and I'm able to expedite the process pretty quick and try to get people in as quick as we can. Because when we're down a person in news, we are really short being able to go out and cover the stories we want to. So try to get people in as soon as we can, but you have to get the right hires. Now, the people that move on have gone on to some really, really good things. We've got, I think, 6 or 7 sports anchors that are in top 30 markets right now. One you may have known is Dave Schwartz from Care 11. He started with us in, I think it was around 2002. He was with us. A really good guy, still in contact with him all the time. And he's just an example of the type of people we bring in. And sure, we'd love to keep them, but that's not our market. You know, that we realize they're going to move on, and we need to bring in that next person and have them do a job. It's tough. It's tough as far as story continuity. And I appreciate the patience of a lot of our local officials that work with our reporters, because they'll just develop a relationship with one, and then they're gone, and then a new person comes that doesn't really know what's going on. And it's just part of being in a small market, and people are so nice to our reporters and treat them well. And it's just gone really well. So that's a little bit about the newscast. Staff size I talked about. The one question I get is, how do we decide what to cover for news? And that's an interesting judgment call. And it really depends on the way you look at your market. We look local first, but not everything that's local is news, obviously. But something that, you know, I teach a class for Bemidji State in media writing and production sometimes. And we just actually had this lecture on what is news. And there's 7 different characteristics ranging from novelty to impact to proximity and everything in there. You know, a house fire that happens in Albert Lee is a bad thing, but it's not really something that's going to be an impact to our audience. A house fire in Brainerd, Bemidji, yes, it would be. We try to focus on local impact stories like the ice fishing extravaganza. Our Nick Orsini just had a really nice story on that. He previewed it on Friday, and then he had the story recap on Monday. We don't have news on the weekends, and that's simply budget-wise. We just don't have the staff to be able to staff for the weekend. So a lot of times those weekend stories, we'll run them on Monday. And we can do that because there's really no one else up in this area that does local news. So it's still newer for people. And then everything goes online at that point too, after it airs. So yeah, but you know, the really unique story this year with the virtual ice fishing extravaganza, he did a great job presenting that. Really try to show those types of stories. We don't chase a lot of ambulances. We report the bad news when it's there because it is news. But we try to focus on what's going on in our communities. We have certain segments at the end of our newscast that try to put those in areas. I talked before we started today about our in business report, where we highlight a local business throughout our viewing area. On Tuesday nights, we have a Northwoods Adventure, where it's an outdoors segment. And it can be anything from snowshoeing to ice fishing to anything going on outside pretty much. Wednesday nights, we have a lady from the Bemidji end, Sue Doden, who does a cooking segment for us. It's Good Food, Good Life 365, a healthy recipe type cooking segment. And then on Thursday nights, we have a Golden Apple segment, which is, we've had that since 1998. It's a story about what's going on in our local schools, and usually highlighting a unique program or a project they've got going on. To start this year, we changed that to just simply interviews with superintendents from our viewing area talking about how they're dealing with the pandemic. We wanted to stay out of schools particularly when cases were spiking. And that was a way we could do Skype interviews and still present the segment. We've started going back into schools now and doing limited stories for that segment in Golden Apple. And then on Friday night, it's an In Focus segment. And that is simply anything involving culture, arts, music, stories like that. So those are always at the end of the newscast after our sports rolls. And yeah, that's kind of, those segments in particular are focused on presenting those types of stories. Like I said, we're starting our 23rd year this summer, and we've done beyond the newscast too. I've mentioned we do a lot of other productions. We've done local debates now for our state representatives and state senate since 1998 as well. And this year was a challenge because we had to do them all virtually this year. And Mr. Ray Gildow has been our moderator for about 10 years now, Ray? Or more than that. Yeah, Ray's done a great job. We appreciate him doing that as a moderator. Then we have a panel of local journalists. I'm on that panel along with, like in Brainerd, we have somebody from the Brainerd Dispatch. Gabe was on it the last few times we've done it. And then someone from public radio, and we ask questions. And that's been a big success. The candidates really appreciate having that opportunity to be on our air and throughout the entire viewing area. And of course, they're online after that. One big change since I've started is the growth of our website. When I first started, it was different. When you broke a story, you wanted to break it on your newscast at 10 o'clock at night. If we had, say, the news that the Brainerd ice fishing extravaganza was going virtual this year, and then we had that, nobody else had it, we'd try to hold that tight to our vest until at 10 o'clock and break it on the news at 10. Well, now, of course, with the internet and Twitter and Facebook, there aren't really any secrets anymore. And the sooner you can report it, be the first one to report it online, on Twitter, on Facebook, that's what we're doing now. So we made a commitment to our website about 2016, and we were up 180% on our views on our website since 2016. And just in the last year, we went up 48% in the last, from the year before that. And last year we had more than 2 million views on our website. So it's added another challenge for reporters in the past. Like when I started in TV, I had to know how to write for TV. I didn't have to necessarily post newspaper type stories online and have proper punctuation, grammar. I knew I had to write it for TV. Now these reporters, they better be good on their print writing as well, because that's being put out every day. And each reporter is in charge of doing one online story on top of their TV story now too. Our success really has been in large part to our general manager, Bill Sanford, who's really supported our newscast since he's been general manager. And I think he started around 2001. He's retiring this spring, unfortunately, and time flies, but without his support and the board's support, we have a really supportive board that wants to see local news do well. And without those two elements, this really wouldn't work, because it's really difficult. Yeah, that's why a lot of small markets are shriveling up as far as TV coverage and news coverage. It's tough. And to have that support from our general manager and our board has been just critical. And it's the key to what we've done. Our funding model is different than commercial TV. I'll wrap up with this and then I'll take some questions, because I know we're probably getting close to that where you wanted me to wrap up. But our funding model is a little different. With a commercial station, you run commercials, of course. You have Ford and Chevy. Alcohol commercials. We can't do alcohol commercials. Whatever. They're 30-second, minute-long commercials at times with calls of action, is what we call it, where they can tell you the advertising, some prices, and come in for this. We have underwriting, which is support sponsors, which is very important to us, but it's quite a bit different funding wise than a commercial. But those are a critical part of what we're able to do with our funding, is to have underwriters, and Dan's in charge of that. Dan does a great job of working the streets and bringing in supporters from businesses. And then we also have grants from the state. The state helps fund public television, and we get a portion of that. And for us, that's a real big part of our budget. For Minneapolis, for Twin Cities Public TV, the percent they get from the state of their budget overall is quite a bit smaller, because they have so much more support coming in from underwriting and also membership. Where for us, in a small, rural, relatively poor area throughout our coverage area, what we get from the state's real important. And then also membership. We have people that become members of our station and help support what we're doing. And those people are critical, and just, even if they're small pledges, just showing that we have support for what we're doing, that helps translate into more state funds for us, and federal funds. And we get the money from the US federal government as well. So, to wrap up, how you can support us would be, simply let people know that you're watching. And if you can become a member, that'd be wonderful, even if it's at a small amount. If you're underwriting business and can, I know it's tough times right now for everybody with the pandemic, but if you can, show some support for a local TV station, that really means a lot. And other people see that, and it helps generate funding all throughout. So we're happy with what we're doing, and we hope to do it for a lot more years, but it is really a challenge. And but at the same time, it's been a lot of fun. And that's, I guess, what I have. I have some other things I can talk about, but I don't want to overstay my welcome here. But I could certainly answer some questions, or if anybody has any questions.
Just a comment. Lane Larson and I are both on the board, and Dennis probably undersells his ability a little bit, but he has done a phenomenal job over the years of bringing in reporters. If you can imagine hiring someone from Georgia or Florida, which he has done, they're probably not going to stay too long when it's 25 below, like it's going to be this weekend. He just has done a phenomenal job, and it's a real challenge when some people only come for a year or two and then they move on. But he has really made that news work by hiring some really good people. And, job well done, Dennis.
Thank you, Ray. Yeah, the best story I have is the one now. I hired Sarah Madison from Hawaii, Honolulu, going into the winter months. I got her tape and her resume, and I'm like, oh, she looks pretty good. But is she really serious about coming to North? So I called her up. I said, I don't want to go through the process if you're not real, oh no, I'm serious. And she was. She came out and really didn't complain the whole time she was out here. She just I've hired people from San Diego and Miami, and most of them really like the uniqueness of having a winter up in this area, except for what's coming up here this weekend, I think.
Yeah, Chris Burns is from Connecticut, which is like, yeah, right. But he's spent the last 2.5 years in Florida. So he's here now. So I was kind of giving him a primer on what's going to happen over the next week. And we'll see how he does. He's should be prepared for it, though. I started here 24 years ago, Dennis 23. And on our management team, Dennis is the least senior. And I'm next with 24 years. So not a lot of turnover here, but I'm retiring in May, and Mr. Sanford in maybe June or so. So not a lot of turnover. It's a good place to work.
Yeah, that says a lot about it when you've got people that have been on staff that long in a small market, because it's pretty much everybody could move on to a bigger market and make a lot more money if you wanted to. But a lot of us appreciate the quality of life in this part of the state, and it's been the best thing I ever did, taking this job back in '98 for my family and just be able to do this. So it's
Hey Dennis, David Winkleman here. I just want to thank you for doing what you're doing, because local news is so meaningful at our house. You watch the national news and it's so depressing. Watching the local news really gives us hope that life can be normal again.
Well, thank you. It's great to hear things like that, and that's what we try to provide, that and tell the stories in our local communities. And there's so many good stories to tell. I mean, we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg a lot of times, and it's and like I said with the reporters, just when they're getting to know the beats and know what's going on, then they're moving on. And Ray said a year or two. I've had some leave after 6 months. It's like that makes it hard. And we do have a contract, but we don't really hold anybody to it. We're not going to go to court or over something like that. But if I'm happy if we can get a year, but if we had them longer, then be able to dive into the communities better, know a lot. It just gets easier and easier for them the longer they're with us, because they know more people, they know more storylines, and can find those kind of stories.
Dennis, this is Ron Sanders. I want to echo some of the other comments. Dan and Dennis put together a very short article on myself a couple, 3 months ago, and encouraged my wife and I to start watching Lakeland TV. To David Winkleman's comment, the national news anymore, I might as well just photocopy it from CNN because it's all that. But we found Lakeland News, and it became our stable every night for watching TV. In addition, I'm the founder of the CRMC Championship, and Dennis and Dan and I explored if we become a tournament this year where we can't have spectators. I'd like to sit down with you guys and see how we could bring television into the local community to get some viewing of our tournament. It's a PGA sanctioned event. We're on Golf Channel, but at 4 o'clock in the morning, and if we don't have any many fans, I'm sitting here in Phoenix right now. The same thing is happening with the Phoenix Open, where they normally have 100,000 fans a day. They have 3,000 now. I've got every bone in my body crossed that we're going to be full live this year. Our tournament is August 21 to August 29. But it's always good and a little bit of forethought to think of some contingency plans. So if you'd like, either one of you would like to contact me so we could start to talk about it and say, well, we do this if it's, scenario one, we can maybe do this in scenario two. And I wouldn't expect to have a TV camera on every hole, but at least if we could bring the highlights live to the local community, maybe for a few hours. Again, Dennis, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And that's a great idea. In fact, our current general manager, Bill Sanford, I talked about, really views getting out and doing community events like that as an important part of what we do. We recently, last year, a week or two before the pandemic shut things down, we had a national curling, junior curling tournament in Bemidji that we streamed for 3 days, and then we televised the championship match live. And we're always looking for more things like that. So that would definitely be a discussion to have. And I can mention it to Bill right now, but like I said, he's retiring, but he'll be here till June at least, and it's not too far away from when your tournament is. So I'll talk to Bill and Dan, and we'll get back with you.
Well, and a reminder, I'm retiring in May, the end of May, which will be the end of my 24th year. And people send me emails and say, hey, Dan, can you cover this? Can you, here's my event that's happening. And you can do that. All I do is forward it to Dennis because he's the decision maker on that. But so if just a reminder to folks, the email is news@lptv.org. And that will go to Dennis and everybody at Lakeland News, no matter who they are. You don't have to know who the current reporter is and, their email, just news@lptv.org. And so news ideas and calendar events and everything, that's the email that you want. And just send us stuff, everything.
Yeah, Dan and Dennis, I would say one of the lead things we could probably do is the first 2 days of the tournament are Rotary days for the benefit of Rotary and Strive. That might be a good little story to start it off with. It's going to happen one way or the other.
Okay. Well, we're definitely.
It's going to happen.
So I have a question for you, Dennis, too. Just kind of I'm curious how social media has changed the news, and maybe that's a topic in and of itself. But just kind of curious what your thought is on that.
in the way we present it or in the way we find it, or both?
Probably both. How has social media changed news?
Yeah. Well, all our stories we promote on social media. We also try to, if we've got breaking news, we try to present it on social media right away. Oftentimes, the way like a breaking news story will go, say well, I'll just use that same example. We just found out the Brainerd ice fishing extravaganza is going virtual. We probably put out a quick tweet, Brainerd ice fishing extravaganza going virtual, more details to come. And then we'd follow that up with a written web story, and we'd post another tweet and link to that web story. In the meantime, we're working on the TV end for the story that night. And then once that airs, that would be added to the package with it. So you'd have the news written and then the video as well. Generating story ideas, it's really a resource. In general, for like when I was doing sports in the 90s, I used to have phone numbers for local Dairy Queens that were located close to the football field that I could call. Hey, can you look at the scoreboard? What's the score right now? You know, because we couldn't get scores called in from some places. I mean, it's terrible to have highlights and then not have a score. Now, you know, they've got all that stuff on Twitter real easy. Everybody's got it. Facebook. And then as far as generating stories, you just see the topics of discussions going on in the community threads, and a lot of times that'll spur an idea for storylines as well. So there's a lot there. Of course, you know, there's going to be criticism come in, you know, much more so on feedback as well. Sometimes we don't get a lot of terrible feedback. Once in a while, you know, you always got anybody that's really close to one side or the other is always going to view. If you present something down the middle, they're going to view. In fact, I've had the exact same story generate people from the left and people from the right saying I was too slanted one way. So you just, you know, you got to do your best to present. We try to present things as unbiased and balanced as we possibly can. And with a small beginning staff, occasionally there'll be a mistake made. But to be honest with you, there hasn't been a lot of that. And, you know, the criticism on Twitter hasn't been as bad as I think it is in some places. You know?
Good to hear. So we probably have time for one more question.
Dennis, this is Todd Bymark with Cuyuna Regional Medical Center, and I just want to offer my thanks for the fair and accurate reporting that you've done over the years. A lot of stories on all the things we've had going on here, and we just appreciate that local flair that you've helped to share our stories with this community.
Thank you. And again, like Dan said, if anybody has story ideas, news@lptv.org is the best way to get them to us. And if we don't cover it, it doesn't necessarily mean we didn't think it was a valid news story. Sometimes we're just limited with, you know, when I've got people on vacation, that really limits them what we can do that week. Weekend things, you know, they work Monday through Friday typically. You know, we get the things on weekends, but then we have to pull them off during the weekday. So it's just logistically a lot of times if we can get to stories, but the more stories we have, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for presenting to us. Always interesting and great to hear stories from our local people as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Is there anything else to come before Rotary? Seeing none, I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thanks again, Dennis.